there, Python programmers. I've got a great video for you today on list comprehensions. One of my favorite things to talk about with Python. Basically, some improved syntax for our for loops and if we're dealing with lists. So let's just play around with it. If I want to copy something, a lot of times I'll make a new list. Now I've got to iterate for num in nums. Visiting each value in that list, we're gonna nums copy dot append, adding in a num, and then we can print our nums copy. Yeah, boom, boom, boom. Cool, and we see we just copied nums, so nothing super amazing. Let's go ahead and do a nums. We'll call it LC copy using a list comprehension. So the backbone of every single list comprehension is a for loop. Again, if you weren't planning to iterate through a list, you probably don't need a comprehension. For num in nums, that is our typical for loop syntax. With a comprehension, though, we can do more. In front of that, we can put num. This basically is saying, hey, this value is what I want to put in the copy or the new list each time. And if we go ahead and print our nums LC copy, boy, we better see the exact same thing. And we do. So it is another way to copy a list. Now, there are other ways we could do this. So list comprehensions aren't only good for this. They can actually do a lot more. What if we wanted to map over that list? Maybe we want to multiply each value by 2. Let's do that with mapping. So mapped nums would have to be a map object or built-in map function. Map needs 2 things, a callback or in-place lambda. So let's just do a lambda. For each num we take in, we want to return num times 2. That sounds like a good one. And then we just need to provide the iterable we want to map over. Let's go ahead and print out mapped nums. And we also will want to cast that to a list and print it. I'll say why in a second. And we can take these out. Boom, boom. So we see we do get our original list multiplied by 2. We get this map object because, again, map can take 3 different types of iterables. We could do a set or a tuple. So again, there's a lot of things going on with map. What if we wanted to do this whole thing, though, with a comprehension? Totally can. So let's build it out. Again, we need the for loop for num in nums. That's the heart of every comprehension. We are going to want a number in each time. So we do num here, but then we can apply operations on this first value. So we could multiply it by 2. If we wanted to do a method call on it, we could totally do that here, or a function call. Really, the only thing we are not able to do inside a list comprehension is variable assignment. So if that's something you're going to need, then probably a list comprehension isn't going to work. You'd need the more traditional for loop. Let's go ahead, though, and print out our mapped list comprehension and see what we got here. Same thing as our mapping, so pretty cool. Again, I'd say cleaner syntax. We do not have to worry about casting it to a list. List comprehensions are always going to return a list. But hey, that's totally cool because, again, remember, if you need it as a set or a tuple, in Python, we could just go ahead and cast that to one of those. It's easy peasy. So, hey, just cast. You do have to spell tuple right, though. We could just cast it to a tuple right like this. So we haven't lost anything that we could have done with mapping, right? There it is as a tuple. Cool. What if we maybe wanted to filter? Another thing we commonly do. Hey, guess what? Let's see how we do that for regular. And then, hey, how we would do it using a comprehension. So we'll call nums filter. This equals a filter, built-in call. I'm going to use a lambda in place here again. For each num we take in, we want to return num modulo 2 equaling 0. Basically, we're going to test to see if it's an even, and we're going to call this on our nums. Let's just directly print out casting it to a list, because again, just like with our mapping, we would have gotten a filter object here, but I want to see the numbers. Cool. So again, those are only even numbers. Hey, could we do that with a comprehension? Oh, you bet. So let's do that. Let's do nums underscore filter, and we'll call this one LC. So let's set it up. Num for num in nums. This again would make a copy. We learn mapping. We can manipulate the value here that gets put into the return. Well, after we can tack on a condition. So if, same thing we have, num modulo 2 equals 0. Boom, boom. Let's now print out that filtered nums. Nums filtered list comprehension. And what do we get? Hey, same thing. So we can do the same thing as a filter. Here's what's really, really cool with our comprehensions. We can totally do both at the same time. So let's call nums filter. It's going to get long, and map list comprehension. So again, let's keep the evens, but let's also multiply them by 2. Just change the name of this filter underscore and underscore map LC. And let's print out that final comprehension. Ooh, nums filtered out. I misspelled it right there. Hopefully we got it fixed. Let's take a peek and look at that. We got our only evens, but then each one was multiplied by 2. We can see that from the original values here and then the new ones here. So list comprehensions are really cool. Again, a lot of places we could use them that it's going to be much easier than doing a for loop. Again, 2 things that you might need a for loop for. If you have to do any sort of variable assignment, you cannot do that in a comprehension, but we know we can totally do that in the scope of a for loop. Another one is if like we're playing around with an index, needing to maybe get a value but look at the next value. Again, that usually isn't easy to do with a comprehension, so we'd need to probably stick with a for loop. But most other times you could use a comprehension. Super Pythonic. So again, embracing these and learning how to use them just shows me that, hey, whoever is learning, if they're using comprehensions, they are understanding Python and how to interact with it. Hope you enjoyed this lecture. See you all soon.